The vagary of the random drawing gave us a stage of nothing but white folks. And look at the week we have had in our public policy and our media discussion and the discussions we've had with friends and family, driven by the president, his attacks on Baltimore, his attacks on yet another member of Congress of color. Race did come up on that stage tonight.
The president is advancing environmental racism, economic racism, criminal justice racism, healthcare racism.
I have had it with the racist attacks.
What Trump is doing through his racism and his xenophobia is demonizing a group of people.
Steve Kornacki has more for us on the issue of race. And as I said, Steve, it was an all-Caucasian stage tonight owing to just the vagary of the drawing.
Yeah, that's right. Tomorrow night, obviously, you'll have the two black candidates as well as the person right now who is leading the black vote in all the polls, Joe Biden. But on that subject of Trump and race and how that intersects with the Democratic race, here's a new poll that's out today. Maybe you saw this. Ask the question from Quinnipiac, is Donald Trump racist? This is all voters across the country, a majority, 51% saying yes, the president's a racist, 45% saying no. Here's something interesting, I think, as it relates to the Democratic primary. Break this down among white voters, because there's been a talk here about is there a group of white voters that maybe will rally around the president? You've heard that, but the flip side of it is this. This group of voters right here, white voters with a college degree, this is a group that over time we've been talking about has been trending more Democratic. This is a group of voters you saw in those suburban districts in 2018 that really rallied around Democrats last year, helped bring them to that majority in the House, that 40-seat gain. And you see on this question of is the president is a racist, more than 50, by a more than 10-point margin, those voters are saying yes, he is right now. These are voters increasingly who are becoming a Democratic constituency. And by the way, this group of voters, non-college white voters, a lot of times blue-collar white voters, we talk of this as the president's base. We talk about this as a group of voters that, hey, maybe these folks will like what Trump has said. Keep in mind, this is 39-57. Do you know what the election results were in 2016 among this group? Donald Trump won this group of voters by upwards of 40 points over Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton could not crack 30% with non-college white voters, now close to 40% of non-college white voters in this poll are saying they think Trump's a racist.
All right, Steve Kornacki, thank you. Some fascinating,
what I think that shows are two things. One is, it is true that the sort of racialized appeals from the day it came down the escalator had a certain potency. It's also true, if you look at the polling, that say industrial Midwest voters, white non-college, have more conservative views on immigration. That's what the polling shows. But this idea that this is some brilliant mastermind to go around calling members of Congress, that they're rat-infested places and that they hate whites and cops and send her back, it's not. It just does not show up in the data. And Ron Brownstein had a great piece the other day. If you look at that data and you start to go into the gender crosstabs, the place the hemorrhage is happening is with women. It is happening to a very significant degree and across various demographic groups within white voters. You're seeing white women turning away from the president. It was a huge part of the 2018 story.
Exactly. And if you go back to a year ago this time when he was doing the zero tolerance policy and separating babies and children from their parents, putting them in cages, it was white women, when you looked at his own polling, that he was losing. They were sprinting away from him, and independents had been doing that for months prior. And that's what we saw going into 2018, suburban white women leaving Donald Trump, leaving the Republican Party, and it was a referendum on Donald Trump. And remember, he doubled down on immigration, doubled down on the caravan, and it didn't work. It failed for him.
Eugene, I will say calling Congressman Cummings a racist was a new one for me.
Yes, it was a new one for me, and I think we'll hear more of that sort of thing from Trump. He is smart enough, I think, or cunning enough to try to neutralize the word,
He said in a C-SPAN interview tonight, everyone's being called a racist.
Exactly. So I think you'll hear that more and more from him and his defenders.
Senator?
Well, I think he is making a big mistake, not just chasing away suburban white voters, but African-American turnout is a very big deal. And Donald Trump suffers from what many candidates suffer from, I think, and that is they wrongly assume that the African American voting population isn't paying close attention.
Yeah.
They are paying very close attention.
They are.
They know who
very
every
close.
candidate is. Everywhere I go in St. Louis, I run into my friends and people I don't know. They want to talk to me about every candidate, and they are very informed, and they are paying close attention, and they hear. And Cummings is beloved. For all the right reasons.
Correctly, yes, right.
Correctly beloved.
Right.
Not only by African Americans in his district, but African Americans all over the country, and even Republicans in Congress. So to pick on him, he's going to drive African American vote in a way that our nominee might not be able to.
Yeah,
Exactly. I think that's 100% right.
Anyone who's ever watched an oversight committee hearing.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.